The Gilded Age Season 3 closes with many problems solved and new ones opened, and that has left us with a massive expectation of just how insane Season 4 will be to change everything. The last episode of The Gilded Age Season 3 was so intense that it left us with a huge shock, especially as we saw George Russell leave Bertha in the most twisted way, starting the show as the most beloved couple who inspire many people around them, including the viewers. The show took a turn for the worse in Season 3 as Bertha's power-hungry attitude took over until it was too much for George to handle. It specifically broke George to see Gladys so depressed from being forced into a marriage with the Duke. And despite all being in the past now, George's future speaks a different story, which will be a society's doom for Bertha. Season 4 won't be great for Bertha, as she will join the outcast group she included in the last ball. Funnily enough, it's a pretty good move to have included the divorced women in the circle, because in Season 4, Bertha will benefit primarily from that single move. Although George respects and cherishes Bertha, there's no denying he's set on moving on, and there's no coming back from that. However, the divorce would only be the starting point of Bertha's troubles in Season 4, as she will face much scrutiny despite her efforts to make divorced women part of society. It will be an unfortunate twist for a love story we've all cherished from the beginning, but it will also be a defining moment for the characters involved. Speaking of defining moments, we had a lot of those in Season 3, and it was so good that people couldn't stop relishing the moments. One such scenario is how Jack went from being a footman waiting on his mistresses and master to becoming a homeowner who's now being waited on. Although Jack is still settling into his newly found wealth, he will soon be settling into another situation, none other than with Bridget. Since the show started, Jack has had a few romantic moments that never got anywhere because of his situation. But now it's a different story because he will marry Bridget in Season 4. These two have always loved each other, even before the situationship with Adelheid happened. In the last episode of Season 3, we can see Bridget showing a lot of interest in how young his servants are, and it is sealed when she visits Jack in his home. Jack is a decent human being who doesn't push until things fall into place when they should, and with his situation now changed, the discussion will too. So, in Season 4, we can expect John to boldly ask Bridget to marry him and fill his almost empty house. And from here, we will see the relationship between Jack and his bride and their servant friends, which is the most wholesome the show will ever get. But then, there's always more in stock with the Gilded Age, as we've seen play out in Season 3. There will be lots of love and arranged matches in Season 4, and trust Oscar to be a big part of it. For a while, we haven't seen Mrs. Winterton, who has a terrible history with Mrs. Russell, and even though she didn't always mean well, it's now more like she's here to stay, and we will be seeing a lot of her in Season 4, especially with the deal Oscar just proposed to her. As a gay character in that era, he needed to continue to hide in the best way he could, and meeting Turner provided him with that. Despite all that has happened with John Adams' death, which left Oscar shattered, he can find something that works best for him again. And Turner is the best person he can have such an arrangement with, as they know each other well and can come to an understanding that works. It will be another wedding bell in Season 4, with Turner and Oscar walking down the aisle and protecting each other in the best way possible. There seems to be a lot of weddings piling up in Season 4, just as we saw many proposals happen in Season 3, and the last and most memorable one is with Dr. Kirkland and Peggy. Like many other characters in the show, Peggy has gone through a lot that is the hardest to recover from, and it's even harder that her painful past, which isn't any of her doing or fault, gets brought up now and then to remind her why she would never be worthy to find a romantic match. But it all ended up unfounded as Dr. Kirkland finally stands up to his mother to go after what he wants. Again, we will see a big wedding among the black elites of the Gilded Age as they celebrate Peggy and Dr. Kirkland. Although Peggy finally found her breakthrough despite her past, she will still have some challenges with her mother-in-law, but the great thing is that her father-in-law and Kirkland himself won't be entertaining any of her troubles, which is good news for what's to come. Interestingly, there's a lot of joy to come with the Gilded Age Season 4, and one of those is Gladys and the Duke welcoming their baby. It's great to see Gladys's story turn out differently from the real-life person her story is loosely based on. She seems so happy with the Duke now and is settling very well in her marriage with Lady Sarah, now out of their business, which leaves her more chance to grow her little family. With the heir on the way, the Duke and Gladys are bound to get happier than ever, which will impress Bertha as her dreams continue to come to pass. However, while the Duke and Duchess welcome their bundle of joy and continue to settle into the ways of the English, Bertha's celebration will be limited, with George not on her side, and with Adelheid returning to care and work for Gladys, all the predictions about her unhappy marriage have been put to rest, with her mother's happy union paying dearly for it. Love has been a complicated theme in the show, with everyone getting their share. It has been a painful, annoying, and endless journey of miscommunication with Larry and Marion. Before season 3, Larry and Marion had been a thing, but without either of them making an effort. Even during Marion's failed engagements, Larry has always been in the picture, and in season 3, when it seems they could now forge ahead, a great distrust developed that has left many fans of this love story shattered. But their story was rekindled at the final ball as they both realized their romantic relationship mistakes. And even though Larry didn't promise anything at the end of season 3, he holds out hope that season 4 will have a better story for them both. Although their engagement had been tainted with a fallout and Marion seeking to end it, it is where they will pick up from in season 4. Marion and Larry will work through the insecurities and distrust between them in season 4 and move towards getting married. However, their marriage isn't expected to be as grand and elaborate as Gladys's wedding to the Duke, now that Bertha isn't in a perfect place, but it's the final chance for Larry and Marion to make their relationship work. Although George will no longer be in Bertha's life in season 4, he will be on screen and in their home whenever he can to attend to business. And one of the most critical business to find out in season 4 is who shot him. Season 3 was already filled with bad news, and the demise of the railroad baron, George, almost joined the news if Dr. Kirkland hadn't intervened. George might blame Bertha for being ruthless, but he agrees that he acts the same way with his business, where he has offended many people who want him out of business. Although Clay is a big suspect based on his betrayal and how he left things with George, there might be a surprise waiting for us as we discover who shot George in season 4. And despite what many people might think, the assailant might be someone even closer to George and not a business associate. It's no news that the Van Ryns are the most fun and loved characters on the show, especially Agnes, who has it all in her and never fails to get the audience to laugh or agree with her. In season 3, we see her finally on board with Ada being the head of the house after she sees that money isn't the only thing that gets her the respect she once had, now awarded an enormous role and position based on her name and stance in society. The sisters will have seamless and more agreeable moments in season 4 compared to season 3, and there will still be as many conflicts in the show in general, but also the happy and sad ones that will change everything for the good or the worse.